What's going on, everybody? It's your boys, Coach Smoot, Coach Sean, and Coach Jay with BAMA Football on YouTube. Monday night quarterback with the coaches, man. We thought we was live like 2 seconds ago, but clearly we wasn't. Something happened, but yeah, welcome to the show, everybody. We appreciate y'all for tuning in. Appreciate y'all for running up the comments, running up the likes. If you're not a subscriber, go ahead and jump in and subscribe, man. We have 13 people in the chat. Let's get this thing shared up. Let's get everybody in here. Let's get them on top of tonight's news. Like I said, you have myself, Coach Smoot. Alongside me is Coach Sean. Coach Sean, how you doing, brother?
Doing good, man. Shout out to everybody. Roll Tide. Let's get it going.
Roll Tide. Roll Tide. Coach Jay, how you doing, man?
I'm just ready to get past it, just like we talked about a little earlier backstage, talking to ourselves, man. I'm just ready to get past the South Florida game and focus on this game against Ole Miss. And of course, chat is rolling in. So shout out to everybody that's going to join the chat, and for people who's maybe not going to catch the live stream, but will catch the past presentation. So we appreciate all you guys and for everything that you guys done. And yeah, just ready to get the show on the road.
Right, man. Hey, I'm excited, man. I'm excited tonight. I know this weekend wasn't ideal. This weekend wasn't something that we're used to under the Coach Saban era,
Yes,
but we're going to discuss a few things as we get into this topic and about this USF game and some of the things that I really don't want to dwell too much on it, but we're going to break it down a little bit more on the football side, more so than the emotional side, because I did see some things, after going back and watching it about 3 or 4 times, guys. I mean, it's a few answers that we can hopefully see come to fruition this week against Ole Miss. So we're going to dive into those things. But first, once again, you guys, make sure you're liking, make sure you're subscribing, make sure if you want to be a part of the special group, you want to get one of these membership tags, you want to have the special comment show up every time you comment. You can join the fan club. It's a link in the description. There's also links all over the screen. You can go and join the fan club. And those contributions are greatly appreciated for the channel, and not only for the channel, for the University of Alabama, because that's really what we're doing. We're getting access to the university football program to bring you the inside scoop and our own perspectives on things. So thank you all for tuning in tonight. And as we get into this show tonight, let's talk about our final reactions from the USF game. Let's go with Coach Sean first. Coach Sean never lead off first. Let's let Coach Sean go first. Coach Sean, final reactions from the USF win. Yes, I said USF win, even though it didn't feel like it. Give us your final reactions and what you see moving forward, brother. Now that you have time to clear it out.
First of all, shout out to TRVL Sports Podcast. That's home team right there. Great guy, great channel. Shout out to my brother Roll Tide to you. You already know what it is, homie. My final thoughts is I went back and watched the game, man, and I may be in the minority when I say this, but I took a lot. I was emotional when I first watched it. Obviously, I was pissed off like everybody. I was emotional. But when I went back and watched the game, man, I saw some things that I actually was happy about, believe it or not. Believe it or not. I know that sounds real crazy. Deontay Lawson's play, I didn't realize how well that young man had played. I didn't realize how well the young freshman on the defensive line that played at Carver Montgomery, I think was it Montgomery? The young man, was it 47? I think it was the young defensive tackle,
James Smith.
I didn't realize that young man played that well. Actually, he played better than Justin Ebogbe. I know Ebogbe played on the outside, but this man played exceptionally well. The one thing that I was enlightened about and felt good about is, I tell you this, man, JC Latham, he got beat on a few plays, but the fourth quarter game plan, I was ecstatic. I love the fact that we stopped all the trickeration and the trying to turn our quarterbacks into Peyton Manning. They lined up and they gave Roydale carry after carry after carry. The offensive line actually got in the rhythm in the fourth quarter and started leaning on the boys. They started moving those guys. If we had played like that in the first quarter, that'd have been a blowout game. Roydale had 100 yards just in the second half. So, I took away from the game plan that Coach Saban probably finally said, look, man, let's stop all this acting like we got Peyton Manning on our team. Bryce is gone. Let's line up. Let's use the beef that we have. And lastly, run blocking is much easier than pass blocking. Every offensive lineman will tell you they love to run block, hate pass blocking. So my final takeaway is the fourth quarter. I felt a little bit better about the fourth quarter.
Coach Jay, turn it up for us one time, man. Hey, I'm before you go, I feel bad because I feel like Sean. Like I was so pissed off Saturday night and Sunday morning. And then when I got back around to watch it again Sunday evening, I was like, we might have something with Jalen Murray. But go ahead, Coach Jay. Tell us how you felt. Final thoughts, man, and going forward.
Oh, I felt like Michael Myers. I felt nothing. I felt no like how I talked about in the post game. I felt no emotion at all. For the most part, again, our offensive line got their butts kicked against a much smaller a much smaller defensive front. I felt like for the most part, coaching wise, we weren't put in the best possible situations. I agree with Coach Sean that the run game did get turned up and we got to like it. But we also have to talk about how in the fourth quarter, how we were getting the run game going and how this offensive line was gaining confidence. One of our offensive coordinator, Tommy Reese, decided to take that away by dropping Ty Simpson right back and setting us up in 2nd and 15 engagements, 2nd and 16, 17 engagements to a point where it ruined the momentum until around the last 4 to 5 minutes of the game. We decided to say, you know what, we're just not even going to pass the ball at all. We're just going to drain the clock away and run the football. And look what happened. That resulted in a touchdown. So yeah, there was some positive things to take away from that. Our offensive line can move people around, even though they weigh around 300. The average weight is 330 pounds. Yeah, you should be able to move people like that. You're going against a much inferior competition in South Florida that for the most part weighs less than 300 pounds. Of course, they're a much quicker side, but there should be no way in hell that they should be pushing you around and getting into the backfield and penetrating from all different sides. I don't care if it's 7, 8, 9, 10 dudes in the box. For the most part, for past BAMA offensive lines, they weren't like this. They used to absolutely crush people moving around. In this offensive line unit, it's we're still trying to find a rhythm. Tyler Booker did not really play in this game at all. We had to see Darian Dalcourt, and we even saw some Terrence Ferguson, who also struggled in this game as well. But overall wise, again, there's some nice things to take away from this game, but a lot of negatives as well. And honestly, I feel the exact same way as I did on Saturday. A lot of mistakes, but also a lot of potential, and hopefully we can clean up against Ole Miss.
Right, man. I'm right there with both you guys. I'm not going to, piggyback or keep coinciding and saying the same thing. One thing I do want to say is I do believe in the second half that that Coach Saban had more input into how the defense was being schemed. Kevin still was making some good play calls, but for some reason there were, every other play we would see a little miscommunication here and there. And then I saw Coach Saban talking more around the second drive of the third quarter, just getting into the defensive side of the huddle. And I don't know what was said. I could speculate. I could kind of, guess. But I know there was some threats made about positions out there because the defense was playing solid. And I believe Coach Saban knew going into that third quarter and putting Ty Simpson out there, still running trial and error. I believe he knew he needed something extra from his defense in order for us to make it out of that game. And he did exactly what he needed to do. And that defense, I love the fact that our defense has been put in 2 tests, back to back, having to overcompensate for the offense this early in the season, because right now we know they're not conditioned for 80 plays a game. We know that, typically once you get later in the season, the game tends to slow down mentally for players. So defensive wise, you don't want guys still trying to figure it out when they get in the league play. And I see our defense very comfortable. We may not be making all the plays, but we're making enough plays to keep points off the board against teams that really should be, throwing up 28, 32 easy. Texas had to struggle for their, 34 points they scored on us. We didn't give up 50 points against Texas. We didn't give up 40 points against Texas. It was 34 points. And that was off. 10 of those points was off turnovers, if we want to be technical. So the defense is playing a lot better than expected. And like I said, they're still growing. But we definitely got to see more of that fourth quarter consistency from our offensive line, because I feel like if we could get half of that first and second quarter, it sets us up for those third quarters where we used to grind it out and just impose our will in the third quarter. Alabama was known for getting that 1 7-8 minute drive in the third quarter to finish teams off, to just impose their wills, whether it was a 7-point game, a tie game, or whatever. We knew how to take the air out the ball and run the ball. And I saw that the last 6.5 minutes of the fourth quarter. And that's promising. So that's my final take. And that's our final take. Chat, you in the chat, I see a couple of comments. I'm gonna take a comment right here. And that this is one that I wanted to acknowledge because I did call him out. Turner played well. Also led the team in tackles, I believe. Hey,
shout out to Gelato.
Hey, my boy Gelato. Don't call him Gelato.
It's Gelato.
But yeah, so I mean, Turner finally he and like you said, Sean, I had to go back and watch because I don't remember him making any big plays except for the chase down on the sideline. I think that was either late second quarter or early third quarter, one of the two. But he played solid. The whole linebacker core actually played solid for what they were given. The spies, that's going to happen, man, with athletic quarterbacks. You want to maintain coverage downfield and take your chances, maybe getting a late hit on a guy when he's 15 yards downfield. So I'm glad to see that. Coach Sean, any comments you've seen so far that you want to acknowledge, man?
Who was this? James D84 said Proctor isn't a tackle at the college level. In my opinion, footwork is poor and hands, oh Lord. I mean, I feel differently, man. Playing left tackle in today's football, when you know, in this wide open scheme, you have to be able to pass block playing left tackle. You have to have long arms to play left tackle. You have to be a good athlete to play left tackle. And Caden is all of that, man. He's just young. He's young. He comes from Iowa, so he's probably bigger and stronger than most of the kids he played with. When you young like that, you don't lean on your technique. He's probably trying to overpower everybody. I see him lunging a lot of times. Just bad technique. That kid is going to be just fine. Now, on the flip side of that, he is getting beat quite a bit. But I will say, I watched even when Ty was playing, a lot of the times that comes from these different quarterbacks, man. I say again, when you play offensive line, you got to have continuity at the quarterback position because every quarterback is different. So if you keep switching quarterbacks, the offensive line don't know where the quarterback is. Some quarterbacks rush up the middle. Some quarterbacks like to swing it out. Some quarterback. So the more this guy plays, the better he'll be. Trust me.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I was tough on Proctor. It was just some plays where he got beat on. I don't think you should get beat on him. Being, like the one-on-ones where you don't have nothing but still the edge. Give me time on the edge. I think he's going to get better though. I said it from the jump. He didn't play great, but there were moments where I saw, even like every week it's been like that for Tyler. I mean, not Tyler, but Caden. So I coincide with you, Coach Jay. You got a comment you want to acknowledge, man?
Shout out to Carla. She made a pretty good. I mean, maybe Caden does need some need a little help on that left side, right? Try to give him a help when we're trying to run those 12, 13 personnel type sets. Maybe try to get a tight end and maybe Chip, just to try to help him out a little bit as well. I agree with Coach Sean, though. I think his technique can be a little off. When you're working with so many different quarterbacks, I mean, quarterbacks have different tendencies. One could be extremely mobile and likes to roll out to the left. Another quarterback likes to try to roll out to the middle. So you don't know. So when a quarterback tries to, scramble up the middle, you don't know. A defensive end tries to rush inside, and then you're getting called for hold because you don't really know the quarterback's tendency. So, it's when you're working with so many different things, plus a brand new offensive scheme that he's never had to work with before, that could be on a freshman. Now, this is the reason why a lot of our left tackles a lot of our freshman tackles are kicked inside, and then you don't see them play tackle until they're juniors. This is kind of the reason why. The last person I think did it was was either Ashawn. No, I'm sorry. It was
Cam.
It was
Jonah Williams, wasn't it?
Cam Robinson.
No, it was either Cam or Jonah. It was one of those two.
I think it was
Cam. Cam stayed on the left. He didn't go to the right.
Yeah, Jonah was at right tackle. Jonah was at right, and then he yep. So that's the last one was Cam as a straight left. So
left. Yeah,
it's going to take some time. It's going to take some time to gel. This is not the greatest offensive line in the world. I also think that Tom Reese is not putting these guys in the best possible situations. I think Eric Walford needs to be questioned as well as our offensive line coach as well, because it has not worked over the last couple of years. We've actually regressed compared to when he was at Kentucky. So there's a lot of kinks that needs to be worked out, but now it's SEC play. We're going against much better competition. Even though I think the SEC as a whole is probably weaker than it's ever been before, which means that it's a wide open opportunity for Bama to try to get back into this thing, but it's up to them at the end of the day. And this offensive line does need to get better.
I got one point I want to acknowledge. Before we get to that point, Coach Sean, handle that for us, man.
I want to say thanks for the content and commentary. Great show. $2 super chat from Duke to go 220. We thank you for that, Duke. We appreciate you so very much, man. Roll Tide.
He ain't hit us with the marquee. Shout out to Duke to go for the Super
Shout
Chat.
out to Duke to go 2020.
Hey, but Eric Rofer, I will say this, and this is something that I heard. I don't know how true it is, but offensive play calling got totally flipped in the second half. After the second drive, I don't know if y'all noticed it, but there were more run formations being presented to respect the run than it was in the first half. Eric Rofer, to me, I think he's one of those guys that's just disrespect. He's straightforward. Eric Rofer is a straightforward guy. He's not a soft-spoken guy. I believe Eric Rofer went in there and spoke up for his offensive line. These guys done went in the offseason and put on 20 extra pounds for what? So we could still step back and hug people and hope we could catch somebody. I believe that's why we saw the run game improve like we did. And yes, it was still spots, but I'm with you guys, man. Let's leave Caden out there. I think with Jalen at quarterback and a strong 4 next to him, especially right next to him, I think Caden could end up being solid for us come around LSU time when we're going to need him to be ready. You get what I'm saying? And because he's showing those positive signs. So I agree, man, to a certain extent. But Eric Rofer last year compared to when we had Maroney the year before, no, I take Wolford 10 times over 10 compared to what we had. It's a difference, man. So, but I do understand the frustration. Shout out to my guy, Wookie Gremlin. I seen better protection from gas station condoms. Hey, let me tell you, I ain't got no stories about no gas station condoms, but I know what you mean, man. All right, man. So check this out. We're going to move on to our next segment, man. And in this next segment, we're going to talk about the Monday pressers from today. I didn't get to get deep into them, but one guy that I do want to talk about, and it's creating buzz in the Alabama Twitterverse and all those things of that nature. Tyler Booker talking about the players only meeting. The legitimacy to that, I question it so much. Maybe they did have a players meeting, but the type of meeting they needed, I don't think was had. I think it was more so of a Coach Saban putting his foot down and putting some fear in some heart, because even Coach Saban's words and his demeanor today was flipped from the previous 3 weeks coming into this game. So I just want to get y'all take. Were y'all able to listen to it? And if you were, Coach Jay, you take it away, man. How do you feel about this new attitude? And we understand last week y'all was pissed off, but we saw what happened when y'all was pissed off. So I wonder what the meeting go do. Coach Jay, how you feel, brother?
No disrespect to Tyler Booker at all, man. No respect at all, man. But I don't want him. I want him to stop talking, because every single time it seems like he's now the spokesperson of this Alabama football team. But every single time he talks, we just get worse and worse and worse. First, it was smash mouth ball. Then all of a sudden now we're pissed off, we're angry. Then we want to try to bring the standard back, and now we got a players meeting, and now we finally figure some things out. But we're all on the same page. We'll see what happens. I don't want to hear it. Me personally, we'll see what happens. To be honest, I don't want to hear anybody talk. I understand that for the most part, it's a player's job. Of course, journalists, they got to ask questions, and these players are trying to respond to the best of their ability. But at this point, they're trying to hype the fans up. They're trying to get the fans to keep believing in them. Listen, we know what it is. We see right through it. You just got to show us in the football field at this point, because it's just everything that we've heard and every single time that we've bought into the hype. Our blood pressure continues to rise because we're trying to see these expectations. We're trying to follow it, and we're getting angrier, and our blood pressure continues to rise up, which is unhealthy for us as football fans. So if they care about us, stop talking.
Man, I'm right there with you, man. At this point, Sean, you talked about it. Those old school interviews, not old school, but previous Saban teams, the interviews and the type of mentality they came into those interviews with wasn't necessarily a dog, but I miss the guys that didn't know how to do politically correct interviews. I miss those guys. I feel like Kendra Blackshear need to be up there doing an interview. I don't want Tyler Booker. Yeah, we're figuring it. No, I miss. Y'all remember Alex Leatherwood had the interview. We just plain sucked. We got whipped. We just plain sucked. I remember when he said that, and everybody was dogging him for that, but that was the truth. And they didn't even play a bad game. That was the I want to say the A&M loss. The first or the Ole Miss lost the second year when we lost the Ole Miss 2 years in a row?
He wasn't on that. I don't think he was there.
Who was there, man? We just got whooped. And when he
Was
said
it
it,
LSU?
people just I don't know, man. But when he said it, all the Alabama fan base took offense to it. But we were saying the same thing. Our O-line didn't show up, and that was in a time where O-line was the strong point. So I don't want to hear. I'm like you, Tyler. You're a good guy, man. I want you to just be mean on the field. Don't stop trying to be the nice guy off the field. Coach Sean, take it away, man.
For me, man, I just want you to show me, man. I don't care about the media. I mean, what's the purpose of putting that out? I mean, if you had a players meeting, that's cool. We used to have player meetings all the time. Nobody ever knew. Out. Nobody ever knew. Nobody. I mean, respectfully to Tyler, he's one of my favorite players on the team, man. Very intelligent young man. But brother, on a football standpoint, we don't care. Show me. You couldn't put, and I know you didn't play. I watched our offensive line in the first half, and 90% of the game, we couldn't even move USF off the line of scrimmage. Nobody cares about the talk. Nobody cares about the talk, man. You know, show me. Go out, dominate Ole Miss, and I promise you, that will go way farther than anything you could say in an interview. Trust me on that.
Right. And I'm glad you said show me against Ole Miss, because now we're going to slide into this week's matchup, guys. This is the one I believe when we talk about true test. I knew Texas was going to be a test. And then I said depending on how we play against Texas and how we come out of that game will determine how we go into league play. Me personally, and we were here, I wasn't confident in Milroe's passing game, but I was confident in Milroe being our starting quarterback for the rest of the season. Now, was I one lobbying for other quarterbacks to get a look? Yes, you have no choice but to. When you're talking about the type of looks we were getting in the passing game, the type of reads that were being missed, you have to give other quarterbacks live game time, live game action to see if we're going to get better results or less results. And then you weigh out your options. Are we going to be able to do this more often and live with this and be successful, or are we going to be able to do this? And the option that Alabama was faced with offensively was live with an athletic quarterback who can hit the deep ball and the deep passes when they're open, but he can't make the second and third progressions in the quick game that we need him to do when the first read isn't there. Or do you take a quarterback who doesn't have the arm, who can make the progressions, who doesn't have the same athletic ability to get out of tight spots when the play breaks down, and live with his ability to hand the ball off good and read defense, but not be able to complete the pass? And then your third option was get the quarterback with no experience that has all the upside. He has the talent. He just doesn't have the mental there to stay consistent in practice. So we can't trust him in the game. Give him a chance. So you had to mix all this up to get real answers. You don't get real answers in practice. We all know that. So when we go into this segment, let's talk about the Alabama offense and defense's must do's and must don'ts. I mean, must do's and can't do versus Ole Miss. And the way we're going to break this down, Chad, this is going to be kind of extensive moments for each one of us. So I want you all to listen to the in-depth insight and the perspective that these guys bring when we talk about Alabama versus Ole Miss. And we're going to break it down. Coach Sean, talk about our offense, the must-dos and the can't-dos against Ole Miss defense, and what you've been able to see just by the little film that we've been able to watch, the highlights and everything. I know we've all done our own film study of Ole Miss, but let's talk about that. Alabama's offense, what they must do and what they can't do. Let's talk about what they must do in order to be successful against Ole Miss. Go ahead, Coach Sean.
Our offense, as far as what we must do, I think we must run the football. Georgia Tech had a lot of success against these guys. They really did. Georgia Tech actually kept the ball for right at 20 minutes in one half, but they couldn't get in the end zone. They kept the ball for a very long time. Haynes King threw for over 300 yards against these guys. They had two different backs over 50 yards. The quarterback himself had right at 50 yards. So Georgia Tech compiled a lot of stats against these guys. We must run the football. We must establish a run. We must establish the line of scrimmage. We cannot put Jalen Milroe in third and long. You know, I know that will come, but we need to have a package for Jalen Milroe. We don't need to go out and ask this guy to throw in the zone coverage. We must run the ball. If we establish the run early, everything else will fall in place. every other plays that probably wouldn't work later on in the game will open up. So for me, my number one must do is we must run the football to be successful on offense. Now, the don't do's is we can't turn the ball over. We can't turn the ball over because this team will try to run 90 plays. You better believe Lane is going to try to run 90 plays, man. We cannot turn the ball over. That's the number one thing that we can't do. We can't give them easy points. We can't give them easy scores on our side of the field. So we run the ball. We don't turn the ball over. We play just like we played in the fourth quarter against USF. And I promise you, we'll come out with a win. Don't turn the ball over. Run the football. Sure, it's going to be some third and shorts. You can basically call any play on third and short. Third and short opens up the playbook to just about anything you want to do. A defense don't want you in 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3. They want you in 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8. So stay away from the 3rd and longs. Move the chains. Keep the chains on the plus, and do not turn the ball over. Run the ball. Don't turn the ball over. Those are the two main factors of what to do and what not to do.
I'm sorry, I was muted. I keep forgetting I have two different mute buttons. But Coach Cern, before we get into Coach Jay, offensive line wise, against their defensive line, that's the position I want to highlight. That's the position group I want to highlight. Do you see our offense having more success this game?
I do.
Or do you see them struggling? And explain why.
If we can run the ball, let me tell you one thing that I wanted to say last segment. Caden, go ask Roydale Williams about running off that left side in the run game.
Yes,
we can
sir.
Talk about his struggling, but that boy is a dominant run block. Thank you. Exactly. He is a monster putting a hat on a hat. I mean, he turns his defender. He plowed. That boy had about 2 or 3 pan. Now he struggled in the pass blocking, but he had a 2 or 3 pancake blocks. I mean, so for me, the offensive line, I think once we establish the run and get some continuity, get some type of chemistry going, I think that's the key. That is the key. The offensive line is the actual keys to the motor. If you have these guys playing well, we'll win this game.
Right. I'm right there with you, man. And another thing, the tight end blocking has been beautiful, man. Has been beautiful. I could count maybe 2 or 3 plays where knee black got caught, foot tangled up twice, one time on trying to come out of motion and seal the edge. But you talking about all 4 tight ends blocking solid.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I am confident about this offensive line against Ole Miss defense. And preferably, I want Pete Golden. I don't want him to change nothing up. Call that defense like you was calling for Bama them 5 years. How many years we had to deal with that mess? 5 years, right?
4 or 5, yeah.
Lord, definitely. I mean, I want to see that. I want my lick back. Coach Jay, talk about our defense against their offense, the must do's and the can't, the must do and the can't do.
Well, what you must do is that you got to be dominant in the interior. That's one thing that we haven't been over the last. You can make an argument that really the last couple games we haven't been. Well, I think the South Florida game was pretty good, but against a notable opponent like Florida, Texas, we weren't. Texas was able to control the line of scrimmage, and Wyoming had a much better performance than we did in the interior for both sides. So we got to get better at that in the interior defensive line, because this is going to be an Ole Miss football team that they're going to split you out. This is, for the most part, they love to run a lot of wide split formations. Tennessee is going to be another team that's going to be running like this. Of course, if you guys watched the game last year, you definitely understand. But for the most part, they like to line the receivers outside the hatches, outside the numbers, and they like to, for the most part, open up those. That's going to cause the running lanes, those passing lanes, to really open up. They love to use reverses. They love to use screens. They love to use RPO sets. They love to use reverses, end arounds. Whatever you can think of, that's what they love doing. They love, of course, running entirely in motion with their receivers as well. Now, of course, Jenkins, who's their top running back, one of the best running backs in the SEC, he hasn't had that much success. But Jackson Dart, who is a mobile quarterback, has over 200 rushing yards. So that tells me all I need to know about that. He's going to be included in the run game. They're going to be running some zone read as well, a lot of RPO-based concepts. But for the most part, yeah, this is going to be one of those teams that they're going to try to they're trying to see if Alabama, if their secondary is disciplined. They're trying to see if this defensive line, when it comes to edge containment, which against Brown, against South Florida, we weren't disciplined. That's the one thing about the defense I didn't really like against South Florida, was that you knew that this guy whenever South Florida was going to split you, this guy was going to potentially take off. And whenever they spread us out and they split us out wide, nothing that we could have done about it. For the most part, we rushed 4. We didn't have any extra blitzers. All of a sudden, the gap would open and he would split through. We got to play gap discipline, guys. Gap discipline. Our secondary has got to play discipline. Our linebackers, for the most part, inside linebackers, keep doing what you're doing. Keep being athletic freaks. Again, for Kevin Steele, I want to see him use these players in a more versatile manner. I don't want to just see Quindarius Robinson or Jahad Campbell or Kendrick Blackshire just blitzing them right to the A and the B gap. I want to see them, line these guys out on the outside. Let them be 5-star athletes. Let somebody play as a quarterback spy and just have that one job. Whatever you see this guy potentially take off, go ahead and get him. I think the less responsibility on some of our other best pass rushers, which are, let's be honest, our inside linebackers, I think the less responsibility, I think the better when it comes to playing against the quarterback. But Ole Miss is a very, very dangerous offense. They love to catch defenses off guard. We all know that. It's why they've been one of the most successful offenses in all of college football. And Lane Kiffin, let's be honest here, guys, he's not afraid. If they can't be successful, let's say in passing up the ball, they're not afraid to run it. Ole Miss has been one of the best rushing offenses in the country, really the last 3 years. And I have a quote, if I can find it, but I have a quote here from Lane Kiffin that he spewed last year when they had a top rushing attack. I'm trying to find that quote. Apologize for it.
Take your time, brother.
Trying to find the quote. I cannot.
Hey, while you look for it, let me comment on something you just said, brother.
Yeah,
because
go ahead.
you said something key that I believe a lot of people are discounting our team for this year. Our linebacker play is light years better than what it was last year. Inside linebacker play, because even against USF, I remember last year when the quarterback would step up in between the A, B, C gaps on either side, he was breaking for 20 plus yards.
Yep.
You look at the scrambles from this quarterback last game, I think his longest one was 17 yards. So to me, and that was one out of the 9 or 10 that he broke out for, or I think it was 9 to be exact. He broke out for like 9 big runs. But guys, we have a different style of defense, not style of defense, but a different mentality on the defensive side. And I honestly don't believe it's a I don't think it's a scheme thing right now. I think it's guys really adjusting to being allowed to play football. I'm starting to see Terry Arnold play more football on the perimeter. I'm starting to see Caleb Downs play more football up top and not try to think he's in high school anymore. I'm starting to see the inside linebacker play. They're playing football. They're really shooting gaps and beating defensive linemen to the ball. You know, last year that was an issue. The edge guys was beating the inside guys when inside guys were free to make the play. So I'm more than excited about, what the growth of this defense and the development possibilities of this defense, especially in a game like this against Lane Kiffin. We saw Sarkisian week 2. Who else to get you better prepared for Lane Kiffin than Steve Sarkisian? So, Coach Jay, back to you, man. I just want to make that point, man, because people are discrediting this defense, man. We literally only gave up the 3 points that
freaks.
We gave them. We gave them 3 points.
Exactly. There are freaks on that team, but this is pretty much tell you guys the quote. He said, everybody thinks you throw the ball in the system. You really don't. You run the ball a lot in the system when you really have it going. So if this Ole Miss offense, starts to predicate a lot towards the run game, and if the passing attack isn't working, if we decide to, let's say, stay disciplined in the passing game whenever they're trying to split us out, if they get it going in the run game, what do you think they're going to start doing? They're going to continue to attack it. They're not just going to turn away from it and hit us with explosive plays. They're going to wear you down, which they did. Which, if you take a look at last year's game, what did Ole Miss do last year to be in a position to be in a potentially a position to win the game? They ran the ball down Alabama's throat. They continued to run the ball. It was a lot easier because a lot of those running lanes and passing lanes were open because they split us out wide with those wide formations. And all they did was just strictly ran it down our throat. And we got tired. We got worn down. What you said earlier, though, Coach Moog, is one particular advantage that I think could work is the fact that I think that this Alabama defensive line in front seven, quite frankly, is a lot more conditioned now because we had to overcompensate for our offensive flaws. So I think in a way, even if the run game starts to get a little going, or if the passing attack doesn't work, but they start to, gain some yardage here and there, well, the question is, will this defense be phased enough to a point where, our offense can't get it going. So now our defense has to try to step up, and do they feel a little overwhelmed by it? based off the last couple games, they're putting us in a position to potentially win games. And one of it, they already did. So against Ole Miss, it's going to be interesting, but you're going against an Ole Miss football team that, even though they might not have the personnel like they did last year, or really over the last 2 to 3 years, their offensive philosophy, despite Jeff Lebby being gone, is still there. Jeff Lebby's philosophy is still incorporated with Lane Kiffin. And this is a team that is a much balanced football team, but they're not afraid. If all game long, they're going to run that football.
And that's what I wanted to make sure you highlighted, man, because a lot of people will think about Ole Miss and their up-tempo offense and think it's like an air raid offense. No, Ole Miss runs the ball. They actually had 2 backs before week 6 last year. 2 of their backs were in the top 10 as rushing. And that was Zach Evans and Quinshawn Judkins, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yep. Judkins, yeah.
So both of those backs, they were outgaining Alabama backs. Jace McClellan, Roydell Williams, who we had last year, B-Rob.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, so it's one of those things where I'm like, we definitely need to focus on something that we've actually done pretty decent on, defending the run game. We've given up a few big ones, but defend the run game. I've been tasked with doing the schematics of this game on both sides. You talk about Coach Kiffin versus Coach Steele when it comes to the offensive play calling. We know Coach Kiffin is not the offensive coordinator, but we know that's his system. We know that he has a lot of input and a lot of say so in what is being called on the offensive side. And he's a mastermind in creating mismatches. And so schematically, the more we can allow guys to not be mismatches is going to affect how successful we are. Meaning, do not put guys in situations where they have to think more than they can play football. Because this team has proven when they can play football, meaning they can line up across from a guy and say, you got to beat me to win this play. That's when our guys are most effective. And I saw that against USF, especially in the second and third quarter, when our defense was putting our offense in great positions to score, man. And we just could not get any production with Buckner under center. So I think coming in schematically, we're going to see defensive wise against their offense. I think we're going to see a lot more man coverage. And I want to see, I hopefully we see more 6-man pressures. I don't know where our 6-man pressures went against Texas, but they showed back up against USF in the second half, and it's effective. I don't know. I also don't know what this new concept of thinking is in college football with defensive coordinators that you want that you want to give your guys a chance to cover better, dropping 8 in coverage. We didn't see that a lot back in the early 2000s or the late 90s when I started watching football. I didn't see that. I saw more one-on-ones across the field than I do now. You would think with the type of athletic, the athletic gap that you see guys being able to jump 38 inches and broad jump 10-4 coming out of high school and run 4 threes, like you would think that coordinators be like, all right, this guy go out there and play, be an island. At least give him a chance. I think when Kevin Steele did that to our DBs, that's when they played the most successful. So schematically, I think we depend on the athleticism and guys being able to play football and not thinking so much and sending pressure at Jackson Dart, who wants to run the ball. Get him out the pocket a couple times and hit him a few times. Now, offensively, schematically, put Jalen Monroe. I want him moving his legs every time he has to throw the ball. I don't want him dropping back 3-step, 5-step drop more than 8 times in this game. There's no reason to. We should be running, read option, something to keep his feet steady and planted to where when it's time for him to take off, those twitch muscles are activating. And I'm one of them coaches. I do development training, so I know the different type of muscle reaction and how they fire and trigger based off of the position they're in. So when you're running the read option, you're square base, feet shoulder width apart. Generally, your lead foot or your plant foot is slightly behind the lead foot, so you can let the running back get a clear lane across you. You're reading the defensive end or whatever your cue is, and by the time it's time for you to press off of that, you're already squatting because you have to dip to get the ball in the running back's stomach. You don't ever want to be standing straight up trying to hand the ball off to a running back. So those small things matter. Jalen Monroe is probably the most efficient in doing that, posture and everything and handing the ball off. Why not allow him to do that same motion 40 times a game to make the defense think he might pull it? He might hand it off. He might pull it and pass it. He might pull it and run it. You get what I'm saying? Like that. Those are simple things as an offensive coordinator that I would love to see Tommy Rees do. Get this guy off platform, roll him out of the pocket, and just let him be an athlete. And as he continues to get confident being an athlete and making plays, that's going to help him grow in the passing game. So that's my take on the schematics. Chat, after every segment, this is one thing that we said we were about to do. We do not want to be one of the shows that do not engage with our chat. We love some of your comments. It's just so many that we can't acknowledge all of them. So one thing we're doing, we're going to always take 2 to 3 minutes in between each segment to try to acknowledge some of your comments. Coach Jay, have you seen anything? Or Coach Sean, have you seen anything that you want to acknowledge?
I see right here it says Skip 07 UA. It says moving left or right in the pocket cuts the field in half. Not a good strategy. I completely disagree. 1,000,000%. I completely disagree. I think that's how you use Jalen Milroe. You know what I mean? You move him out of the pocket. You take a shot deep. For me, I'd like to see us take a shot deep early.
Yes.
You know, just to let them know we're not afraid to throw the ball downfield. This team has a real similar alignment on third down that we used to run when Golding here. So I totally disagree respectfully. I think you get Jalen on the run. I think you get him rolling out. I like us in 12 personnel, me personally, and I like to get him on the edge like that. Anytime you can get Jalen Milroe one-on-one on the outside with short routes, high-low routes, you know, he's proven he can hit those routes. He can hit those routes, especially if you're in man coverage. Anything to give him an opportunity to throw the ball deep, which is his strong point. I totally disagree. I think that's where he's strong. Now, Texas did a great job at defending that. You know, Texas was getting to him, but again, a lot of these defenses that we play are not
going to be Texas.
Facts, you know. So, you know, you stick with what works, man. I mean, I know when you go back and you really do your history and you watch these games again, you really see things that you didn't see the second time. I call the initial watch my emotional watch. You know, you don't see things like you do when you breaking it down coaching wise. Jalen Milroe, while he threw those 2 picks, and I think the second pick was probably the worst. It was just a lazy throw, right? I understand they lured him to sleep, they baited him to death. I get it. Those things, when quarterbacks do those things, they learn from them. They remember them. And you can better believe Coach Saban and the offensive staff probably gave him grief for it. You can tell he probably watched 100 clips of it. So he's going to be aware of it. Lane will probably try to disguise some coverages or probably, you know, show him one thing, drop back in coverage. You know how it is, the norm of disguising and trying to hurt a young quarterback. But what offsets all of that, guys, what offsets the perfect defense, what offsets the perfect coverage is a running quarterback. A quarterback that's as dangerous as Jalen Milroe. You can have everybody covered in man. You can have everybody sold up. You know what I mean? One bad look, one lazy DB not looking, one linebacker looking at the wrong thing, and it's off to the races. So for me, I think you do get Milroe on the edges. I think, especially against this team. I think you get Milroe on the edges, give him some short throws, but I do want to take a deep throw early. I want to show Lane and show Pete Golding that we will throw that thing. Because you better believe they're very aware of the Jermaine Burton play. They're very aware of his deep throwing ability. So I'd like to take a shot early to send a message that we will throw it. That, to me, Lane want to win this game so bad, and Pete will too, that they won't forget that. They won't forget that he will throw it deep. So I'm hoping Tommy Rees, or, you know, whoever calling the offensive plays, Bill O'Brien sneaking back into the booth. You know, I'm hoping these guys go deep early and to send a message to them that we will throw it.
Hey, so let's get off topic for a second, because you said something that I've been seeing floating around the BAMA 20verse, the BAMA fan pages. Coach Jay, I know you've seen it too. The fact that everybody keeps talking about Bill O'Brien being in the booth. My thing is, it has been confirmed that Coach Saban has a style of offense that he wants to run, right? When he bring these coordinators in, I went back and I watched Jalen Hurts 2016, right?
Yeah.
The second year he was the starter, not the first year, the second year. And I went back and I watched Tua. I watched formations. These sets and things that we're seeing, the only thing we're missing is motion, guys.
Yeah.
And you want to know why? I think the style of motion and thing, we don't have 4 receivers that's running 4 4s, 4 3s. We don't have 4 or 5 receivers in the receiver room that's, running backs. We have one in Kendra Law and another in Emmanuel Henderson, which I would love to see in more of the jet sweep motion. Even I think Isaiah Bonds is changed his style of play. This guy's very aggressive on the inside routes now. He's not ducking contact anymore. This guy's really being physical. So I think this first 3 weeks, man, and I'm optimistic, chat. Do not say I'm making excuses, because I'm not. Believe me, I share every sentiment you all share. But I believe, honestly, Tommy Rees is being forced to show what type of creativity or what type of efficiency he can produce with play calling, with having the basics of this Alabama offensive schematics. And that's being led, even though we know Nick Saban is not a offensive minded coach. He's not an offensively, but he is a game manager. And we know that he has full control of that team. He has full control of what the limit he gives. He says, here, Lane, this is your box. Here, who is our great Jeremy Pruitt? This is your box. This is what y'all call them plays within, and we'll consult in the meantime, in those moments when it's time for you to go against that. But this is what I need y'all to do, because this is what I saw to help us be effective. And maybe, Chat, maybe, Sean, Jay, maybe that style of thinking might be time to move away from when you're talking about Tommy Rees, who had production out of a trash Notre Dame offensive skill set last year. He had production. With Ty Buckner. We saw what Ty Buckner did against USF. He had production with those guys. And there was a lot more pre-snap movement, things happening at Notre Dame, especially with the tight ends. I don't see our tight ends in motion. So that's my hard take. Maybe Coach Saban has too much control over that offense. Respond, Coach Jay. Talk to me. You muted. Talk to me. I know you was ready to get to it. Talk to me, Coach Jay.
I was about to say, at the same time, though, those same skill position players are tearing it up, because guess what? All of a sudden, they're starting to take shots. They're starting to take shots down the deep. They're running a lot more. They're like a lot more of those deep crosses. They're lining. I mean, they're tearing it up with Sam Hartman, and they're being a lot more creative. I mean, Notre Dame fans they've been telling me all for a long time, saying don't trust Ty Rees. Don't do it. I mean, but we'll see. We'll see, because I think Ty Rees, he is a very young offensive coordinator. So I feel like for the most part, he's just trying to prove, that, listen, we know the basics. We can dominate with the basics. We're not going to really show our complete hand. We're not going to show our full deck yet. But honestly, like I said, guys, we got to run. We got to establish a lot more physicality. We got to run the football a lot better. But obviously, yes, using our tight ends in a lot more motion, using a lot more screen passes, and just being way more creative in play calling. And by the way, putting Jalen Miro in the best possible situations. Because let's be honest here, I think the offense, that vanilla type offense that we started to run those first 3 games, I don't think that was something that Jalen Miro, I don't think he fits that type of style. That's more of a Buckner.
Give him extravagant
type of time.
Give him extravagant. Give him motion. Give him something that takes the attention off of the fact that when this guy breaks it down, when things break down, he can use his legs. Give him something, because I guarantee if you put Isaiah Bonds, Kendrick Law, Kobe Prentice, all these guys are shifty after they catch the ball. Malik Benson, Jermaine Burton, you put these guys in motion to where they have to cross the point of exchange. That gets defense, that gets free safeties freezing, that gets linebackers freezing, or crashing gaps that aren't even there. Crashing. That's and I go back and I look at how Henry To'oTo'o used to get caught up in blocks that weren't meant for him because of the pre-snap movement, the look at the point of exchange. That's where you get eyes. When they say catch the defense's eyes, that's what Lane Kiffin does on a specialized basis, man. It's like this guy, and I could know it's coming and still look at the wrong spot. I'm like, all right, man, this back is cooking. He been cooking us in between the tackles. Lane Kiffin is going to get this back to the edge some type of way. And he'll run a traditional jailbreak screen with a running back. He'll motion a wide receiver through like he running jet, and the back will leak out like he gonna block the end that's got this free this speed rush on him. He gonna chip the end and turn around and have the quarterback dump it right over his head. We've seen that from Lane Kiffin so many times, and it's like, how do other offensive coordinators not see this and pick up on it? You get what I'm saying? He did
that.
Go ahead, Sean.
Man, that motion, bro. I want people to understand. Coach Sark and Coach Kiffin's offensive are motion based, man.
That's it.
Everything these guys do is it's just what Coach Smoot just said, is to get you out of position, get you looking at the wrong thing. And here's what's difficult about those things. The formation will be ran, they'll run one play. They'll come back a few plays later and run the same formation. Everything looked exact same. Your linebacker overcompensating, it'll be a completely different play. Tight end down the seam this time, like you said, back coming out of the backfield this time. Same formation, same motion, same everything. And these guys will run a completely different play. So for me, I love those offenses. I love those type of offenses, man. Like Sean Lewis at Colorado. I love those offenses.
Why we couldn't get? He wanted to be at Bama.
Yes, Sean I know. Lewis Coach Saban said he didn't have enough experience.
And you went and got Tommy Rees.
Which is why Nick Saban, this is why we talked about on post game. This is why Nick Saban, at a point, he's at fault because you could have had Sean Lewis. All that with these playmakers.
For less money at that. Coach Jay.
Yep.
For less money because he wasn't proven.
Yep.
And to see what he's doing with Shedeur, you can't tell me that Jalen Milroe and Shedeur share the same type of tendency. To me, Jalen Milroe's arm, deep ball, looks way better than Shedeur's. Now his ability to process is nowhere near. Shedeur has Shedeur been there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. His dad invested into that quarterback time, and he loves to be in that position. So, but you talking about deep ball? Jalen Milroe's deep ball is almost second to none. Drake May is the best I've seen this season. Drake May, and he's going crazy right now. Sam Hartman looks good at Notre Dame, but his deep ball is still wobbly. It's still in act. Jalen Milroe, every deep ball is tight spiral. Even when he's not set, you know what I'm saying? It's like the arm talent is there. So as an offensive coordinator, and this is what I was going to say before we got off into just, that when I coached my first year coaching, I was a wide receiver coach / assistant pass game coordinator. I did not know what that meant. I didn't know there was a such thing as a passing game coordinator. So in that season, I learned from a coach who had been a QB coach and an offensive coordinator. So I learned from him. And one of the things he said was, if you try to make any quarterback, I don't care if they're a traditional quarterback or a scrambling quarterback, if you try to make a quarterback fit your system, you lessen your chances of being successful. You go from being successful, 80% chance of being successful, 85% chance to literally 25% because you do not create these athletes that are signed into your program. You go out and you look for things that you feel like will fit. Tommy Rees didn't have that ability when he recruited Jalen Milroe, Ty Simpson, and these things. So you need to do your film study and say, okay, last year against A&M, Milroe was most successful when he was out, using his legs, on the move, roll out plays, play action, read, those things of that nature. Give him one look, let him go.
Yep.
Why we don't build from that? So, yes, I'm questioning Rees now, but my thing is also I'm giving Rees the benefit of the doubt because it's only week 3. You had to test each quarterback to see how they do in progression, and these wide receivers cooking. That's my only point. Rees might just be one to hold on to it because, man, I got 5-6 wide receivers that can go for 100 yards any game if the quarterback just get to it. If the O-line just not miss the protection on the second down and put us in 3rd and 17 or 3rd and 11 or 3rd and 12. Y'all know our average third down yards to gain is 9.8 yards so far this season, third down. We're like 67% conversion rate, which is amazing for it to be that big of a third down conversion to try to get. But
this first and second down, man, is the issue.
Yeah.
Why not use his legs early on first and second down? If you're not going to take off, if you're not going to try to take off the top, if you're not going to try to go for the sticks on first down, why not use his legs to get those 4 or 7 guaranteed yards? Whether he hands it off and makes the right read and hands it off on the read option, or he takes it and breaks 1 or 2 tackles, or jukes somebody out they draws and just leans forward and gets 6 or 7. So that's where I'm at with it, guys. It's a lot of schematics that can be implemented in this game that give Alabama the obvious advantage.
The most successful coordinators, the ones who know when to run power and know when to make you defend the entire field. They coach for down and distance. They know what to run on 3rd and 2. They know what to run on 3rd and 8. They just don't call plays out of the blue for no reason. That's what makes Sark and Lane extremely dangerous.
Brian Daboll was very good at that.
Facts.
Brian Daboll. I don't know if y'all want to sit here and give him his credit, even though he wasn't flashy. Brian Daboll was probably, but after was it Daboll then Loxley, or was it Loxley then Daboll?
No, Daboll was first.
Dayball.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to say Daboll. I want to say that year Daboll was the OC. That's the year, wasn't Najee leading rusher?
That's the year that Jalen got pulled for Tua second and 26.
Yeah.
That year.
Okay, so you talk about, I mean, the schematically, and I'm watching games, man. I'm watching games from 2017, and I'm like, schematically, I don't see that. I just see pre-snap that's not the same when we were successful. And if it's that simple of a fix, guys, college football is in trouble. And that's what gives me hope about Tommy Rees. Maybe he wakes up and see a film from 2016, 2015 when pre-snap motion just created a Jalen Waddle or Devontae Smith or Jerry Jeudy or Calvin Ridley one-on-one or OJ Howard one-on-one. Like pre-snap motion led to those big plays in those games. And Auburn, 2017, Jalen Hurts to Ardarius Stewart. Pre-snap motion with I want to say Calvin Ridley was there. So I mean, it's just those things, man. I want to see the small things change up, and I feel like we could dominate, man. Shout out to all the fans in the chat, man. We have had a crazy show, not a crazy show. We had I think it was more informative than anything, because even just we didn't get to do our green room talk like before, like we usually do, but I think we all are on the same page when it comes to this team. No more emotions attached, fan base. If we could just detach the emotions and watch the game and watch these boys for what they put out on the field, we would feel a lot more confident than we do. You know what I'm saying? Like about the negatives. Let's get into these chats, y'all. Let's get into these chats. Brian Daboll is.
Shout out to Clinton Howard Clinton Howard had a super chat. He had a super chat.
Call it out. You on it? Get on top of it.
Yep. He said use him. He said use him like the dual threat he is. Preach, fellas. He shout out to Clinton with that super chat.
Shout out to Clinton.
Hey, Clinton, you the go, bro. You and every other super chat in here. Hey, one comment I did want to acknowledge, guys. I don't know if we're gonna jump on them, but I want to go first. Ole Miss is going to stack the box, and there's Miro to throw. Simpson should start. If he can't move the ball, then put Miro in. Wrong. No, you don't put Simpson in. There, Ole Miss is going to stack the box regardless. Ole Miss has no confidence, has no respect for our pass game. We have not shown anybody in the nation that we can be an effective passing team. We have not shown it. And that even coincides with my point even more, David. Why continue to try to test something that we are not? Let your team be an effective passing team by getting your athletic quarterback out of the pocket, moving the pocket for him, get him off platform where he's effective, to give him the option to run when he's not confident in the throw. I guarantee you receivers will start working back harder for the ball. Coach Sean, same comment I just acknowledged.
Yeah, the thing I want to say is pretty much the question that Will Reeves is asking. He said, what would y'all say is the biggest problem with the offensive line? Just the fact that you acknowledge the problem with the offensive line is why I wanted to speak about Ty. Ty is going to be a great quarterback, man. He's going to be a great quarterback for the University of Alabama, but Ty is young right now. If you watch him in the game, they wasn't giving him a lot of reads, hitting that tight end down the seam or whatever it was. Bro, you don't start that young kid with this type of offensive line. All you're going to do is get him killed, get his confidence taken from him, make him gun shy. You don't put Ty in that situation right now. Not right now. You just don't do it. You put your athlete out there, let him run around, make some plays, give him a scheme that he's comfortable with, and see what happens. I would not want to start Ty in this situation. Just me. That's just me. I'm not one of the ones who called for Buckner. I've been on Milroe from the beginning. I just understand when you play defense, what type of quarterback that garners your attention. Sure, pocket passes garner all of our attention, but the ones that just can't move, or yes, they're athletic, but they're looking to throw first. One thing about Bryce that made Bryce Young special, Bryce knew when to get up out of there, and he knew when to look for the pass. Now, he did hold the ball long
a lot,
several times, but one thing about that kid, he didn't put himself in no bad situations. If he took a big lick, it was because he was looking to throw the football.
Yep.
If you're going to look to be a passer, then do that. But you can't be out here looking at one read, staring down one person.
For
you know
the
what I mean?
Time.
Ty is young, man. He's young, and I don't want to kill his confidence. If any sane defensive coordinator in the SEC see Ty back there, they gonna blitz him to death.
They sending 6. I was sending 6. I'm not even a defensive-minded guy. I'm sending 6. If
with
I see
Jalen, real quick, they may or may not do the same, but you better believe they understand if we don't get there.
And that small factor there changes your whole approach to how you, because think about it. You send your fresh linebacker, strong safety, nickel safety, whatever, nickel corner, whatever, wherever you send them from, outside the box, inside the box, you send in the extra, right? We're going to have a 6-man protection. I believe any extended pass play, we're going to come with 6-man protection. That's what we saw last week. Was it effective? No, but I feel like we're going to come with a 6-man protection. What's that? A 3-man route? You know what I'm saying? Maybe your check on the 4th man. I come chipping. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So you get in those type of situations with a guy like Milroe, you giving him nothing but opportunities to create positive yardage, positive gain. But you put a guy like Ty Simpson out there who wants to throw the ball. Maybe he does get the ball off, but he's forcing things because what's supposed to be there instead of anticipating what is there. You get what I'm saying? So, and
our running backs are not good in pass protection.
They're not. So putting them in that position when they're better at running people over, getting in between the tackles. I think what made Roydell's game better than Jace this past weekend was the fact that he didn't hesitate hitting holes. And the same thing Jace came out and exposed Jahmyr Gibbs about last year against Ole Miss when Jace came in and was hitting every hole, and we didn't see Jahmyr Gibbs in the second half against Ole Miss. That's because Jace came out there and was not looking to be pretty. Anytime a hole open up, you hit that mug, and anything come out late on that hole, they probably not gonna get the best on you because you were in that hole first. You were going through that hole first. So shout out to Robert Lofton for the 199 super chat, man. We got you right there. I wasn't gonna keep going. My brother Sean hit it right on the head when you talk about Ty. It's not that Ty ain't good, y'all.
Right.
He's just not ready, and I don't want to hurt Ty. To me, Ty is possibly our bridge between Julian Sayin. If he don't transfer, I think Ty and Dylan, one of those two, gonna be our bridge between Julian Sayin having his first year to learn and then being the starter his true sophomore year, whatever. Julian Sayin gonna be a 2-year, maybe 3-year starter for Alabama. But right now, I don't want to throw Ty. Ty could have a Mac Jones type year. Ty could sit this year, not ever have to go out there and in the transition year, go out there and win the job and lead us to a good season because he has the tools. And it just be that much easier for him to go early first round, late first round, early second round as a quarterback because he played a solid year as a game manager at Alabama. He's going to have the athletes. So definitely. Another comment I want to talk about, man, and I think we were still on it. This one about them stacking the box. Another point I want to make, stack the box if you want to against Milroe. That's where his best passes came from. When they were a true 7-man box, 8-man boxes, Milroe made those deep passes. You know who didn't make those passes? Ty Buckner. You know who else didn't make the passes? Ty Simpson. Even though he didn't have that many opportunities. Mm-hmm. You don't think Pete going about to send pressure this Saturday, y'all? He gonna try to be uncharacteristic because he hears what we were saying. Why we didn't send pressure last year? Pete gonna send pressure this year. Shout out to my boy Adam Lamparella. Adam. I know this is unpopular, but Milroe is the source of the culture problem. He reportedly had a terrible attitude last week. No, let me tell you. And this before y'all go, I'm gonna spit this out, bro. Last week I made a comment about Milroe. I said I wish Milroe was more involved and more talkative on the sideline when it came to how the game was going. You know, him not being the starter, isn't that third? Milroe was not doing more than what he was allowed to do. And that's coming straight from the doggone horse's mouth. Milroe was strictly set aside. He was told by the coaching staff. He was brought in earlier in that week. He was asked, "Are you prepared to be the starter for the rest of the season?" Milroe answered and said, "I'm prepared to be whatever the team needs me to be so we can win." That response entailed, "Hey, let's go ahead and give these other guys the opportunity to not be the guy." That's what happened this weekend. Let's give these other guys the opportunity to not be the guy. But just in case they might be the guy, let's see what happens. You will never, like I said it earlier, you will never know what happens to them lights till they under them lights. Ty Simpson came out and sufficed, but Buckner showed us he clearly is not the guy. Miro came out under the lights 2 weeks in a row, once against Cupcake and once against big teams, and maintained composure. When Ty Simpson led the teams on that drive, who was the first person on that field? So, exactly.
So I supported his teammate.
Exactly. And I made the comment saying, I wish he had been more involved, but after coming, finding out that they didn't want him to be on the sideline, in the huddle with the other quarterback. They wanted to see those other quarterbacks' leadership ability. Ty Buckner, 0 leadership ability. Ty Simpson, talking a lot, but don't have the support of the team because he's cocky. He thinks he's that guy already. He hasn't, his first real snaps were against USF. So Buckner is going to be that guy, and we're going to see a different team show up. I believe we're going to see a different team show up. Sean, you shaking your head. Somebody saying something crazy.
Man, these people are bro, listen. My partner is on the strength and conditioning staff at Alabama right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That is not true about him having a bad attitude. Jalen Milroe.
0.
Bro, what are you? This is the part of podcast, and
we gotta learn because
I'm still a work in progress.
Yes, because I know his people, bro. I know his people, and I was able to read in between the lines when there were messages being posted on their little group text, and Miro was saying, "Hey, no matter who's out there, it was something to the effect. No matter who's out there, we the best team on the field. We the best." Like that was Milroe's message. And the fact that he was told by Coach Saban to relax. I don't need you to be a leader right now. Let's see, just in case you don't work out. Basically, not verbatim, just in case you don't work out. Let's see what these other quarterbacks who are in competition with you can bring to the table outside of their arm, outside of their legs, outside of their reading protection, outside of being a quarterback.
Buckner and Ty were going to play that game from the beginning, guys. The one mistake I do think they made is I think they left Buckner in there too long. They should have let Ty play earlier. So that was your plan the whole time. That's why the wide receivers came out with Jalen to try to show support to him. He was not playing that. That was strictly, we want to put him in a game position. Let's see what they got. All of this, he had a bad attitude. So Coach Saban, the most disciplined coach in the history of football, gonna have a bad attitude one week. Now he the starter the next week.
No,
come on, guys. Yeah,
think about it. If that was the case, Eli Ricks. You think Eli Ricks would have got on the field at all last year?
Exactly, man.
You get what I'm saying? Or Ajayi Hall when he got in the national championship. That's his stories would confirm. He was doing it on Twitter. He was publicly being a locker room cancer on Twitter when he was at the university. Him and Billingsley. Both of them just nasty attitudes. We saw it on the field, off the field.
Not on the team anymore on Texas.
Exactly. So you think Coach Saban would take that from the quarterback who started the first 2 games, played in the biggest game of the season? Nah, Cap, man. I'm sorry that we don't usually come at the comments in the chat, but that's Cap, man. We got to stop this.
That's not true.
And we're not gonna get into the other side of this, but Miro is probably not probably Miro is the best option for us right now at Alabama. I don't care. Y'all can say Lonergan, he may have it. But I don't want a chance to see it at the stadium which we in right now. If we was going to chance to see it, I wanted to see it last week against the USF. And honestly, to your point, before you go, Jay, to your point, Sean, I don't care. I don't think it mattered if we had won against Texas or lost against Texas. Of course we lost, but even if we had won, I believe we still would have seen Buckner or Simpson come out and get the start against USF.
That's a whole fact.
It's not even the start. I think it would have been Miro for 4 drives, like we expected to get from Buckner 4 to 6 drives, and then you see the next quarterbacks come in and get some meaningful playing time to see how they handle it.
And Coach Jay, before you go, and shout out to Adam Lampirlo. We wasn't getting on you or nothing, brother. We just hollering at you, trying to let you know what we believe. Shout out to you, man. We thank you. You one of the best people to come on here, brother. We appreciate you.
Yeah, facts, Adam. I sound aggressive. I know I sound aggressive. That's just my tone, man. I be joking with my wife. She be like, why you so? Man, I'm joking. So don't take it to heart, man. We appreciate all the fans in here. Yeah. Coach Jay, take it away, brother.
Now, I was about to say, I don't want any of my my freshman or my redshirt freshman quarterback trying to control the offense when we don't even know. I mean, Tommy Reese is still trying to figure out what sort of offense we want to try to run.
That's a fact.
Especially when you're working with when you're working with 3 or 4 different quarterbacks, all of them have different tendencies. All of them have different skill sets that eventually you're going to have to figure out what is eventually going to work for each quarterback. What was the biggest issue with Bill O'Brien last year? It was the fact that once that Bryce centric offense went down, he didn't incorporate a offensive set for Jalen Miro to work with, hence why he struggled last year. This year going around, Jalen Miro is trying to be put into a system that maybe fits around a Ty Simpson and a Buckner, but the issue is that Buckner is inaccurate. He's just a person that just doesn't really understand. He's lacking the basic fundamentals of the game. And then with Ty Simpson, he's still trying to learn this offense because his skill set's a little bit different from what Ty Maurice wants to run. So Ty Maurice is trying to figure out what's going on. So I don't want Dylan Lonergan or Ty Simpson to be getting the snaps when we're still trying to figure out what offense we're going to be running moving forward.
And it only, imagine trying to throw a 2 in that first game, Jalen struggled. I want to say it was against was it Arkansas that year Jalen struggled?
A&M. That Arkansas game was actually his best.
Yeah, you right.
When he came in, it was just
just like bad. Even though we were winning. You know what I'm saying? It was just bad. So, I don't see a Tua type talent, arm talent, quarterback talent in the quarterback room sitting behind Jalen Miro. As good as Dylan Lonergan is, he is not a generational talent. I saw somebody in the chat said something about generational talent. You need to change your bird names. I like Rolling Tide. David Kendall. Hey, I found out they were boys today. You know, for everybody that's following me on my social media, I lied to y'all. They are not female birds. They are definitely male birds. So I'm definitely changing the names. So definitely appreciate that love, man. So, like I was saying though, this team, honestly, the way we ended the game against USF, I believe if we were going to try to find anything, a straw in the haystack, a needle in the haystack to build off of, that last 6.5 minutes of that game were promising.
Yep.
To have done it with Ty Simpson at the helm. You know, yes, it was USF, but I don't think y'all realize how even college football is playing out. The only advantage we have now is continuity, having 4 or 5 stars on the roster for 2 and 3 years. That's why we still believe it shouldn't be close games and this, that, and third. But you got talented guys who've been playing some meaningful football in the other D1 organization, the other big name programs playing second string reps, and they're going to these smaller schools and they're texting, they're hitting each other up just like the fresh recruits coming in as freshmen are doing. They're grouping up and saying, hey, let's go over here and try to, do something. We're gonna get some draft stock if we go over here. So and they mostly going to these schools that get those marquee games against the big names because they've been able to watch the system work, So we just gotta sit back and enjoy the process, y'all. Not necessarily enjoy it, but just trust it. I honestly believe, just like Coach Sean said from the start of the show, I honestly believe there were a lot of positive moments in that week 2 loss against Texas and the week 3 win against USF that we can build off on if we just present the correct play calling on the offensive side. Because clearly the defense is doing what they're doing, and they're playing solid. They're playing solid. They went against one of the most talented offenses in the nation last week against Texas, and I knew Texas wasn't going to be up to play against.
The next game, whoever it was.
Whoever. We knew they was going to come in. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Everybody does that against Bama. And you got to – and remember, this is a Bama team that hasn't won a national championship now since 2020. So we're still everybody's Super Bowl. You're going to get everybody's best game.
That's a whole fact.
So I don't –
Shout out Keena Bina. Shout out Keena Bina. Me and you both, Keena Bina. Me and you both.
What Keena Bina comment at?
She's up. She said, I miss Bryce. Love our quarterbacks, but hey.
Me too, man.
I'm with
especially
you,
this year, man. Like a year like this year, the way these wide receivers cooking, Bryce found a way to just throw guys open, man. And that's and last point before I stop talking and we get ready to say our final points in this show. That's one thing that people don't realize that made even Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts knew how to throw wide receivers open. You very rarely saw Jalen Hurts throw to throw it where a wide receiver was. You mostly saw him try to throw where the wide receiver was supposed to be. And he struggled with accuracy that first year. Then the second year, he just relied a little bit too much on his legs because that's what he was forced to do. Coach Saban confirmed that. And so when you saw him at Oklahoma, it was a different story because those things that I mentioned were starting to be implemented. You look at Mac Jones, Tua Tagovailoa, their timing with the RPO was just immaculate because they didn't necessarily throw to the window. They threw, the opening, the closing of the window where the DB couldn't get to, but the receiver was already in motion too. So that timing and everything and is going to matter developing in Jalen Milroe the rest of the season. And I think you give him the best chances by putting him in motion, putting him, moving the pocket, giving him the read option, and then just moving the platform, moving his launch point as far as releasing the ball. Coach Sean, last and final thoughts, man. Going
Last
forward.
and final thoughts. First, G. Kelly 52. I miss AJ, who probably wasn't even good as Bryce, but he got the job done. Let me tell you something. Shout out AJ McCarron, man. Dude is like Big Daddy Kane to me as far as Alabama quarterbacks, because even though that was a different brand of football those years, AJ got 3 rings. 2 as the starter, 1 as a backup. Nothing can supplant that. Shout out to AJ, Big Daddy Kane McCarron. But anyway, my final thoughts is, I'm looking forward to this game, man. I'm looking forward to this game because I really think the loss to Texas, coupled with the bad play of Saturday, I think everything comes to a head this Saturday. For me, this is the Saturday that we want to see what's going on. I think this Saturday is going to tell really,
the real story,
truly, once and for all, who we are. Offensive line is taking the brunt of everybody's vitriol, rightfully so. The come to Jesus meetings, the pissed off, like Jerry said, we don't care about that, brother. We want to see you guys out in the SEC play. Let me see today. Jalen Milroe has been declared the starter. Now what? Let me see what you guys gonna do finally, once and for all. Stand up, play some football. Everybody sell out. Leave it on the field, man. Tommy Rees, coaches, Coach Saban, you too. I want the best coaching job. I want the best players on the field to get us this win, because I'm going to tell you this and I'm done. Please don't be fooled by Pete Golding and everybody saying how terrible he was, and he did cause some crazy stuff. If you don't think this man is absolutely motivated for this game, you're kidding yourself. Lane would like nothing more but to beat Coach Saban, because Lane wants this job when Coach Saban leaves. That's why he never says nothing bad about Coach Saban. He never says nothing bad about Alabama. He's very, very complimentary about Alabama. Lane is a very smart individual. He's been around. He understands the game. We got to go into this game and we have to throw everything at them, because they will throw everything at us offensively. So play Alabama football. Don't turn the ball over, and I feel like we'll be fine. I feel like this game is our defining game.
Thanks, man. Coach Jay, take it away, man. Final thoughts and how what you see going into this. How much does this Ole Miss game mean to the University of Alabama in their season?
It means a lot because if they can't show up for this game and if they decide to crap the bed and play like how they did against Texas, we're not just talking about the schematics, but we're just talking about the discipline. You look at the penalties, and not just the regular 10-yard, 15-yard penalties. We're talking about costly scoring type penalties. We gave up, think about this for a second, 21 points.
28
points. I'm sorry. 28 points were given up because of penalties. Like, think about that for a second. 28 points. If we don't make the dumbheaded mistakes, we come here, play our A game, offensive line dominates. Schematic wise, Tommy Rees is on his A game. Kevin still shows that aggression. We stay disciplined. We're going to dominate this game. But if we continue to play like how we did against Texas, and again, this is not just a 2023 thing. This has been a 2021 through 2023 thing. This has been going on now for 3 seasons now. And we keep saying that, hey, this has got to be fixed. This is going to be the year they do it. And they continue to prove us wrong. So very similar to how the players are talking, are pretty much saying that, hey, everything's going to be in the up. We understand the assignment. It's just put up or shut up at this point, because we're tired. As Bama fans, we're tired of the talking. We want to see the action. We want to see the action, and hopefully they can prove it to us on against Saturday. But I can understand why, and I've been seeing this on all social media platforms. But I can understand why Alabama fans are just done at this point. Maybe they're not quitting on the Bama team and they're handing in their cards, but they're just tired of the hope that we're going to go back and get back to dynasty form. What did Marlon Humphrey tweet out? He said the dynasty's over. He said it was a long run. but all good things come to an end. He's
Yeah.
done with it. A lot of the former players are done with it because they keep preaching. They keep going to the universities and talking to the players themselves and telling them the tradition and the standard, what Nick Saban is trying to teach you guys, and you guys are not living up to it. You guys are not listening to what he's saying. There's only so much you can talk. There's only so much you can try to get through these players. The players and the staff has got to get it through their heads. And if they can't do that, then at this point, as fans, why should we bother getting upset and getting our blood pressures risen up when they don't want to live up to what we've been trying to preach?
Right. And you said it, man. This might just be a new era. Instead of this Alabama team trying to focus and prove something to us, to the previous players, go out there and create your own story. Yeah. There's one thing we forget that Coach Saban has preached to every championship Alabama team. Create your own story. Somebody before you done already did what you're trying to do. So you need to create your own story. Maybe this might be the story that they create. This team started off so bad. They lost. They blew out a undermanned Tennessee, Middle Tennessee State team. They came in and lost to a good experienced Texas team who came in from after losing 1 year. Then they come out and they struggle against USF. Exactly. So maybe with all this Ole Miss hype, former coordinators, both at Ole Miss, coming into Alabama, knowing we lost our last home game, if these boys can't get up this week, we're done. I mean, mentally, like this is the first conference game. This is how you want to set the tone and let the rest of the SEC Western Division know this is how we coming all year. We don't care. LSU, Auburn, Mississippi State, everybody. Tennessee on third Saturday, even though y'all on the East, we owe y'all. We need some A&M. We see y'all. So we have to come out here and make a statement. And going forward, man, if this team does not take the growing pains and really grow from them, we're going to see these guys continue to struggle. And I see a lot of, you know how I get after that second loss, guys who ain't never been injured in their life, all of a sudden they in the training room. They spend more time in the training room than they is on the practice field. And that rolls over into the mentality of the team. So hopefully this is not the case. And I'm more hopeful than I am doubtful for this Alabama Crimson Tide team moving forward. And with that being said, chat, we're going to close this thing out, man. I'm going to go around the table. We're going to start with Coach Jay. Coach Jay, you let the people know where they could find you and how they can follow you and keep up with all of our Alabama takes and sports news and all that good stuff, brother. Go ahead.
You can find me on Twitter at Jant716. Best way to get in contact with me as well, as far as trying to as far as getting into the engagement. If you want to check out my own personal YouTube channel separate from Bama Insider, check me out on YouTube at Jant Sports. You can see a more uncensored version where you can start seeing me yelling and screaming. You can start seeing all that. Just follow me on Jant Sports if you guys can. And then just real quick, guys, because it's funny as hell. My mom, she just texted me about this. She just texted me. She said, remember December, we were watching the World Cup against with Argentina. Argentina won 49 straight games before going into the World Cup group stages. They had the best player in the world in Lionel Messi, most followed athlete and most famous athlete of all time, Lionel Messi. They ended up losing to Saudi Arabia, who was the worst team at that competition. A lot of media gave them grief. A lot of their own fans, which are millions of fans in Argentina, gave them hell, gave them crap. Argentina went ahead and won the World Cup. They didn't follow their past predecessors that won the World Cup story. They created their own narrative, like Coach Spook said. So that's exactly what Alabama needs to do. Create your own narrative, create your own story. And if you can do that and follow it, who knows? We may end up winning a national title.
Coach Sean, it's on you, man. Boom. Hey, Coach Jay got me feeling like Aristotle over here.
Straight up, man. Shout out to Coach Jay. That was awesome, bro. Got me about half fired up over here, brother.
Right. I'm ready.
Ham Fam on Facebook, Hammers Family 25 at gmail.com if anybody ever want to speak. I agree. I appreciate everybody in the chat. Shout out to that man, Kyle Henderson. We appreciate you, man. And remember Coach Sean saying, the truth is in the details. We'll see Saturday what's going on.
Yes, sir. Hey, and with me, y'all know I appreciate my bros coming on this show. Joining me on this show, not coming on the show like it's mine. Look, joining me as we jump on this show, man. And we continue to do what we do, man. I don't know about them, but I've been getting a little bit more activity on my social media. People liking what I'm saying and people dislike it. I got a new TikTok fan too. I was hoping he showed up tonight. I was gonna give him some special attention, but moving forward, man, y'all can find Coach Smook at Coach Smook on every platform. If you go to the platform and you type in Coach Smook, you see a picture of this guy with these thick glasses. You know what I'm saying? It's probably me. So pull up on me. My live content is on kick.com/Coach Smook. I stream Tuesday through Friday, and Fridays, we are going to continue to do the NCAA college football revamp preview of whatever game is coming up. So this week it'll be the preview against Ole Miss. I play the game realistically, and you guys are interact. This week, special little thing we're doing. I'm gonna have two of my boys come into the chat with me. Y'all gonna be able to hear them call the plays, or give me insight on plays and how Alabama plays the ball, and just really look at our IQ and how we see the game being called in real life, and try to portray that on the video game for you all and give y'all some entertainment, something to look forward to, and to see how close we can keep this game to being as realistic as possible. So that's something that we're doing. And also just continue to support the YouTube channel at Coach Smook on YouTube. We're loading the content starting tomorrow. We're overloading the content. We got so much content built up, college football content, reactions, all that type of stuff. But for your main Bama news, you guys continue to show up here on Bama Football on YouTube with Kyle Henderson and us, the gang, man, the coaches, man. This is what we do, man. We really aren't anything special other than fans who love football, but most importantly, love Alabama football. And we see a lot of you talking football in this chat. I love the fact that you guys are talking football. David Kendall, we're not doing any of that on this channel, man. Get out of here. But yeah, man, much love to everybody in the chat. And don't forget, y'all, continue to support the channel. Post-game show. I love the energy you all come in with the post-game show. Win, loss, or draw. Continue to show up because it motivates us. It's hard for me to leave from in front of my TV in the third quarter to prep and start really hunkering down on the emotions and how I want to deliver this content to y'all. And I know my bros, they feel the same. So we definitely want to take advantage of these moments and really be appreciative of what we have at hand. And right now, Alabama, we have more upside than we do downside. It can't get worse than what we've seen. And let's just bank on that, at least for this week, until Saturday, until the clock hits 0 on Saturday. And we deal with the results then. So so with that being said, man, y'all acting up in the chat. I stopped looking at the chat at the end because y'all be acting up. But yeah, so with that being said, man, from Coach Smook, Coach Sean, Coach Jay, and the team, Kyle Henderson, Monday Night Quarterback with the coaches on Bama Football on YouTube, we want to say roll tide. We appreciate y'all and catch y'all next time, man. Roll tide.
Roll tide.